If you've been anywhere near your social media this weekend, checking it on your phone, you may have seen a video that shows a group of high school students in what appears to be a standoff with a Native American man on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. The problem is the story, as originally reported, is incomplete. We have more information that provides better context and depth to what actually happened. Here's the original clip that most people saw. Take a look. So this all went down Friday in Washington, D.C. The Indigenous Peoples March coincided with the March for Life. That is an anti-abortion rally. A group of students from a Catholic high school in Kentucky was at the March for Life. Some of the students were wearing hats that said, "Make America Great Again." One teenager in particular, you see him there, was seen standing in the video just feet away from a man named Nathan Phillips. That is the Native American man, Mr. Phillips, banging on a drum and chanting a prayer. The problem is this video inflamed people who said how disrespectful of this young man and the students. There was a report that the students were chanting "Build the Wall." The problem is there is another video, nearly 2 hours in length, most of which we have seen. And the context it provides suggests that the story is not as originally reported. We never heard the students saying, "Build that wall." What we heard was a chant among the students that appeared to be a sports chant, right? High school students chanting as they were standing in front of this man who was beating his drum. The problem is, here's how it started. The larger video shows a group of protesters known as the Black Hebrew Israelites. They were protesting on the National Mall. At some point, they start yelling profanities at the high school students who were wearing the "Make America Great Again" hats. This went on for an extended period of time. At one point, Mr. Phillips walks into the middle of the group, inserts himself in the situation, and as he later told us, he was trying to diffuse the situation. We wanted to talk to the students, the parents, but also Mr. Phillips. We were able to get Mr. Phillips on the phone, and here's some of what he told us. Tell me, Mr. Phillips, how did you come in contact with that young man? Where were you when you encountered him in that moment? Were you leaving? Were you coming?
What it started out with is these young students weren't really aggressive towards the indigenous people. They were there, they seen us, they had their, it was a thing, but their focus was on the 4 black individuals. And when I put myself between that mass and the 4 black individuals, that's where I was at. And that's when I was singing, that's where that prayer, that movement of prayer put me.
Tell me what you mean about the 4 black individuals. How were they a factor in this?
Oh, so at the beginning of all of this, as we were breaking down, there was these individuals there that were doing free speech exercise out there on the mall.
And what were they saying?
They were quoting Bible verses. They were saying things like what really got the first incident I witnessed was the one individual said, "Jesus is not white, he's black like me." And one of the young kids that was standing there looking there with the red hat on, he looked really offended. But he took offense. They went away, came back with twice the number, maybe 12, 15 people, and they pawned back and forth between these black Israelites and the mega hat wearers.
So,
and
Mr. Phillips,
yeah,
I want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. There were the individuals who were black, who were making statements about Jesus not being white, and then there were the demonstrators who were white, and they're the ones who were sort of getting into it, and you stepped in the middle. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're called the Lost Tribe of Israel.
Okay.
So when this was happening, it took a while from the first incident to the point where there was over 100, maybe 200 of these Life Matter marchers. So they're there, and that's when things started getting really ugly.
Did you say anything to him?
No, I was singing, I was praying, I stayed in prayer.
Did he ever say anything to you?
No, he didn't say nothing. He just stood in front of me, and when the others were moving aside and letting me go, he decided that he wasn't going to do that. You know, I tried to, when I was coming up the steps, I seen him start putting himself in front of me, so I slided to the right, and he slided to the right. I slided to the left, and he slided to the left. So by the time I got up to him, we were right in front of him. He just pushes himself and made sure that he aligned himself with me, so he stopped my exit.
How long did this last?
Well, from the time I found myself in front of that crowd with the drum and the song, and I was singing, to the time I was in front of him, maybe three minutes.
And how did it end?
Singing.
Who separated you guys?
It ended with all those students just leaving, kind
Okay.
of like in a mass. At the last minute, they all left. The boy, he, you know, there was a couple moments in there that I thought he was going to break down.
I wonder what you want to happen to that young man.
That young man, I wouldn't want to see nothing, you know, happen to him. I don't wake up trying to, you know, setting out to hurt nobody ever. You know, I wake up in the mornings, I say my prayers. What can I do to make a better world? You know, that's how I start my day.
So you don't want him to be expelled or suspended or disciplined?
That's, you know, I think the one who should be punished are the supervisors of those schools, the ones who brought them to Washington, D.C. to allow those youth to behave that way. There should have been an adult there responsible to tell them this is a wrong behavior. You know, and that's, you know, how did it come to be me being there to stand between youth and Americans who were exercising their right to freedom of speech, freedom of religion.
That young man is going to go back to school in Kentucky. He'll be disciplined, no doubtedly. If you were to look him in the face again, what would you tell him?
To live a good life and treat people with respect and treat himself with respect, to forgive himself, you know, to forgive others, treat each other with, you know, treat others the way he wanted to be treated. You know.
To forgive himself. That is a very powerful statement coming from you, Mr. Phillips. Nathan Phillips, thank you for your time.
You bet.
Again, it's important to add the original story was incomplete. Now we hope you have more context. The school is saying that the students could be disciplined, possibly even expelled. But the video, as we've seen it, shows Mr. Phillips walking into the group, inserting himself, trying to defuse the situation between the students and the black Hebrew Israelites. And more notably, Mr. Phillips says that that young man standing right in front of him should actually forgive himself. Mr. Phillips never once said he thought the kids should be punished. In fact, he thinks the adults are to blame for not stepping in sooner.